How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargaming China, my free channel where I platform my understandings of the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression in China from 1931 to 1945. And as you know, I mainly do this for wargamers and for people who like toy soldiers or a bit of obscure history. So today we're back to the Nankou Campaign of August 1937. Now, I gave a good introduction to this campaign in my video, the Battle of Nankou. So look that up, watch that for an introduction. What we're looking at here is a small hill called Longhutai. Now, Longhutai was a small pimple of high ground a kilometre away from the town of Nankou and the entrance to the pass that leads through the mountains to Shanxi province and its rich coal mines, which are the subject of the current Japanese advance, which are the object of the current Japanese advance. Now, there's two things I want to do today in this game. I want to explain the battle itself and do a little bit of the history, but also I've realized lately that a lot of my games lately have been very big, and I really wanted the game today that could fit on somebody's dining room table. So what I did is, if you wanted to play this game at home, I measured my dining room table. It's 1 meter by 1 meter .2. So from here to the edge of the table, its widest is 1.2 meter, 1.2, 1,200 millimeters, and from there to there is a meter. Now, the reason we can have this battle in such on either a large table or a small table is because visibility in this battle was appalling, and for the terms of this game, I'll only be giving observation from 24 inches forward. Now, Longhutai was held by a battalion of the 529th Regiment of the 89th Division of the 13th Army of the 7th Army Group of Tongue and Bow. And it was in a bit of a quandary what to do with this piece of high ground to its front, because where it set up its artillery, this piece of ground was out of range of it. And it was also beyond small arms fire range, support range. But however, the Chinese felt that the Japanese would be occupying this bit of high ground straight away, so it would need to be defended. Now, what you're looking at, the railway track on here we're looking at, should be the Beiping Suyuan line, and you know, it wasn't really visible from it wasn't really relevant to the Battle of Longhutai itself, because Longhutai was dealt with by forward elements of Japanese forces. I think it's a combination of the Beiping Garrison Army and the elements of, I can't remember, watch my first video, Deshenkuo, Battle of Deshenkuo. Now, I'm going to treat this as an encounter battle, and I'm going to have the Japanese forces come on here on this line, and their object is to occupy or just bypass, get around the defensive positions at Longhutai. Now, just to make the game interesting, Because as a wargamer, if you set up a scenario, especially on a small table, that's the difference between there's a huge difference between a war game and a real battle, isn't there? I mean, we could thank God for that. But in a war game, you know where your flanks end. And if I was to be a cunning Japanese commander in this game, I would advance my forces this way around the table, and if I had to engage the Chinese at all, I'd be doing so at their weakest point, because as an opponent I can see exactly the Chinese only have one weapon capable of anti-aircraft or anti-tank work or infantry gun work, a 20mm Oerlikon, all things to all men in the Chinese army. So in order to negate that, I decided that this game there would be 3 anti-tank ditches, and as the Chinese player, I'll put them there to seal my left flank from armoured penetration. Now, also the Chinese player for this gets 6 lengths, as well as an infantry battalion, a 20mm order gun, a mortar, and one medium machine gun. These are rapid fire rules, so it would have been a Chinese battalion, and it would have had 4 medium machine guns and 2 medium mortars at its disposal, and 3 infantry companies and a HQ. Now, the 529th was a good unit, and in my last video at Deshenkuo, I discussed that a lot of people say that the 89th was not Germanized, fully Germanized, and a lot of people say it was. So for this battle, forces of the 89th, I'm using my my Revel figures, Revel World War One German infantry, painted as nationalist Germanized infantry. Look, the backpacks are wrong, as always, unless they were cadets at the One Pro Officer Academy, but they are nice figures. I've always liked these figures, and those are the figures that I chose for 2 of the regiments of my NRA Germanized forces, or Chang's personal forces. So there we can see that the battalion nicely dug in. So as a player, we feel we've secured our flanks with the anti-tank ditches, because that'll stop trucks. And then we've got 6 barbed wire emplacements, and I'm going to put them there. Now, also for this game, the far side of the railway where the stone is, beyond that, coming towards the Chinese line, the line is damaged, but also Japanese forces aren't allowed to be on the other side of the railway track. So as I said, this is a game that I thought of mainly for people to be able to play at home on your dining room table, with very, very little expense in the way of scenery or terrain, or even figures. They're all going to be plastic figures. So again, my homemade, cheap and cheerful barbed wire emplacements. Now, there's no mention of barbed wire at Longhutai, and barbed wire was indeed a valuable commodity, but I can't figure out any other way to be able, as a gamer, for me to hindered the Japanese enough. Now, as I said, mines were reported, so what the Japanese are going to be facing is very wet ground, and they'll be coming on. I'll show you Japanese forces. Okay, so let me see. Put them there. There you go. No Japanese forces. Now, for the Japanese, I wanted, as I said in the last game, the Japanese forces that initially probed this position were a mix of cavalry and armoured cars. The Japanese, as roads were short, the Japanese were trying to use as many trucks as they could. However, the terrain, as I said, no roads, wet, plains, because this is the plains, this is the end of the plains. China has given up the fight for the plains. Full of Beipings, no more fights in the plains, no more troops going onto the plains of China. The plains of China, north, central, all are going to be abandoned to the Japanese, because the Chinese know they cannot compete with the Japanese on that terrain. So, what have I got here for the Japanese? Well, I've got 4 infantry companies mounted in trucks. But then I've got 4 more trucks with 1 medium machine gun for 2 of them, and 40 75mm and a 40 70mm gun. Look, 14 of guns as far as the Japanese go, they did do it. They did quite a bit. However, whether those guns were actually firing from 40 or whether they're just being transported is debatable. I always like to think that they were just 14 in 2 position, and then unhitching them, lowering them down the slopes to fire. However, there are some who disagree with me, and when I discussed it with a few mechanic friends, they seem to think that a strengthened bed and extra long springs would probably do the job, especially for lighter guns. So, as I said, the Japanese are going to be entering on the far side of the table. Oh yes. So for the cavalry elements, again, I use the other game, I'm going to be using my combat cars. And for the railway track, I thought I'll be using my RSW, towing a car full of infantry. And that will be able to advance as far up the track as that stone. So by the 9th of August, the Japanese had managed to bypass and crush this position, and indeed there were very few survivors that managed to retreat into Nankou and link up with the rest of their regiment. However, these men would be the first recorded men to use self-immolation, suicide tactic against Japanese armour, and this was the first thing, especially for regular NRA troops. I can't stress that enough. These aren't dare to die units, they're not out, they're regular Chinese infantry, good, very good Chinese infantry, and they are now embracing the tactic of suicide, especially when it comes to Japanese armoured vehicles. Now, early in the war, Chinese grenades were good enough that a man packed with grenades would indeed be able to take out an armoured car or a light tankette. But it seems that by 1940, by 1939, late 39, Chinese grenades are not, the production of them has switched from factories to a series of prefabrications. So in the old days, if the troops were supplied with grenades, they were supplied with grenades that had been made by a manufacturer. Now, by 1939, not but this time. At this time, Japanese grenades can still destroy armoured cars and tankettes. By 1939, they can't, because the grenades themselves are too weak. The reason for this is they're not being made to the same standards anymore. Production has been decentralised of grenades, and they just don't pack the same powerful punch. Also, we've got to remember that the Chinese grenades, as we think of them as I mean, they're not steel grenades. They're not exactly German stick grenades, but they have the same purpose. They're not offensive weapons. They're not offensive grenades. In other words, they never were designed to have enough explosive elements that attacking force using them would have to duck behind cover and stay far enough away from them. Like Mills bombs, fragmentation grenades, they were considered in the 30s, and there was only Mills bomb. They were considered defensive grenades, so you'd be using them behind defense works. Whereas offensive grenades is what the German army used, and what the Chinese army were using, and what the Japanese army were using, which was smaller blasts, which soldiers could be right behind them, using grenades at closer distances. I hope that explains that. But that is why you'll see it in you'll see it portrayed as grenade stacks of grenades jump under a Hargo and take the lot out. Well, I'm sure it did happen because the bravery of the Chinese infantrymen is not in doubt. But as far as the effectiveness of that tactic, as I said, the Japanese don't recall it being effective up against their Hargos or their Type 89s or any of their medium tanks. That's grenades. Explosives, satchel charges are different, and they're special subjects from themselves. Sorry, I got off on tangent there. So here I am. I'm going to give myself eight turns. I'm going to give myself 8 turns, and as I said, the Japanese will be entering here. Their vehicles will be facing mines. I'll be rolling dice to see every time a vehicle moves, see if it hits a mine. I'll also be in rapid fire. We move our vehicles 12 inches at a time. Our trucks 12 inches at a time. I'll be deducting a D6 for every movement. So hopefully by the time the Japanese actually do come in to visual, their formation has been interfered with just by breakdowns, mines, and slow going over muddy terrain. Okay, well that's it for me. That was the Battle of Longhutai and how to do it on your dinner table. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you press like, and mate, I'd love more subscribers, guys. See ya.